Hey everybody, my name is Cord. I have been with ShareFile for about 5 years now, and I'm a customer success engineer with our adoption team. So I'm here to help customers make the most of using ShareFile. We'll go ahead and jump into our Getting Started webinar today. So first off today, our agenda, we're going to start off with basic logins and two-factor authentication. Then we'll look at how to determine your account subdomain and what that is used for. Then we'll jump into the different folders, the file box and the inbox sections of your account. And then we'll move on to sharing and requesting files. And then follow that with creating folders and managing folder permissions. Then how to create a user, some basic account settings and personal settings. And then we'll touch on our applications for your desktop and Outlook plugin and stuff like that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the demo. So the first thing you're going to do when you get to your ShareFile page is you'll have your login. So you will log in with your email and your password. The first time you log in, you'll probably be requested to set up your password because you probably have not done that yet. And then once you have set up that password, you will then be prompted to set up your two-step verification or your two-factor authentication. So that's going to send you a code to your phone or an authenticator app. So I'm going to do a text message today. So now it will send a text message to my number that I would have put in. You can also do a voice call if you're using a landline for this, or once you've set up one of the phone devices, you can set up an authenticator app like Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. And I'm going to use I Trust This Computer. This will prevent it from constantly asking you this. If you don't want to do that, if you're on a public computer, you can uncheck that. So they'll go ahead and click verify. So as you can see, this is the dashboard. The next thing we want to touch on here is the subdomain. So every ShareFile account before this sharefile.com will have a subdomain, which is up here at the top. So for mine, this is Cord Demo. So this is my demo account. You'll usually, it'll have your company name, maybe your subdomain, or a shortened version of your company name, maybe your subdomain. But anytime you're asked for the subdomain, that's the part you want to put in. If you go to .sharefile.com, so if we just go to sharefile.com here, so if you come to the generic login page, what it's going to ask for is your subdomain. So this is where you would put this in. So I would just do Cord Demo, and then it would take me to my login page. Or in this case, it's probably just going to take me right in. Yeah, because I was already logged in, it just takes me there. So anytime you get prompted for that, if you're using our desktop apps, you'll often get prompted for that because it doesn't have an actual URL bar there. So it has to go through those steps. But that is your subdomain. So the foundation of ShareFile here is going to be under your folders section. And you have a couple options here once you open folders on this left sidebar. You're going to have your personal and shared folders. Then you're also going to have your file box and recycle bin. So your personal folders, these are going to be files that you work on personally, not generally stuff you're going to be sharing immediately. So any personal projects or just things you want to keep track of is what personal folders is set up to use. You can come in here and create your own folder structure, add new folders, upload new files, whatever you need to do from your personal folder. Under your shared folder section is where all the collaborative stuff, all your company files are going to be organized. Unless you're an admin, you may not see anything here, or you may only see a couple folders. As I'm the owner of this account, I do see every folder that's been created under shared folders. But sometimes you may only, if you were only added to these client folders, you would only see those client folders. And you may not be able to create new folders here. Again, admins will be able to create these folders here. And then once they create those folders, they can add those users to your folders. And then once you go into the folders where you can find your files and additional folders, depending on how your structure is configured. And the next thing we want to look at here is the file box. So the file box is a temporary storage space unique to each user. This is just going to be files. There's no folders in here. And these files will stay here temporarily, typically 180 days. Your account retention period might change this. But generally, this is where if you've requested a file or shared a file out and you haven't put it specifically in a folder or requested it to a folder, this is where it'll end up. And from here, you can easily choose something, download it, share it with somebody else, or if you need to, move it to an actual folder. So if I come in here, I could choose a folder to move it into. And then just click move, and it'll move that file into that location. Then we have a recycle bin. So anything you delete will come to your recycle bin. And that's how you can restore it. You just come in here, click restore. Or if you really want it gone, you can do delete permanently. It is permanent. So if you do that, it's going to be gone. And then the next section we have here is the inbox. So any sent and received messages, or anytime you create a share is going to be cataloged under sent messages. So this is kind of your email inbox pretty much. So as you can see, this was a file send here. So if I wanted to, I could come in here and see what those files were. This one has expired, as you can see over here. And the lock indicates an encrypted email. So the body of the email has to be accessed through ShareFile. All right. So let's get into what ShareFile is the best at, and that is going to be sharing and requesting files. So if you come to your dashboard here on the left side, you'll see this shortcut panel here. And two of the first options are going to be sharing and requesting files. So you can easily just click on one of these to share a file, and then you can upload either from ShareFile or from your computer. I'm just going to do from ShareFile today. We'll just do this Excel document. So now I have my file here. If I wanted to add additional items to this share, so if I wanted to add more of the Excel documents, I could. Or if I wanted to just share this one, we can go on to the next step. So right now I can either click create link, which is going to create a URL that I can then copy and paste into my own emails, into a chat service, however you want to share that. I also have the option to edit the settings for this link. So by default, I'm allowing anybody who has access to this link to edit it. They will have to have a ShareFile account set up under my account, so they'll be required to sign in. I could just set it to download as well. Then I can set the access for this link. So I can set it to anyone. So anyone who has this link can download the file. This is great for something like a newsletter or something that doesn't have any important information like credit card numbers or anything. You don't want to put that stuff under anonymous, but you also don't need to track who's accessing this link. Anyone, name, and email. Again, that's not a secure way to share files. With this one, it is going to just track them based on whatever name and email they put in. It's not going to enforce any specific emails. The secure ones here are the two on the bottom, which is the sign-in required. This will require them to have a set up ShareFile account that they will have to log in with to access the files. Each individual client and employee account is tied to a specific company account. So just because somebody in company B has a ShareFile account doesn't mean they'll be able to download files from your company A links, just because they have a sign-in. So you can set these either client and employee users can sign in to access it, or only employee users can sign in. So you set those links or those settings. And then if you want to add a watermark, if you have those settings available on your account, not every account will have access to watermarking, but this will set up a watermark. So when they do download that file, it may have that watermark, so it can't be easily shared outside. And then if you want to be notified when people have accessed this link, you can do that. So anytime anybody downloads from this link, you'll get emailed about it. So we'll go ahead and do create and copy. So that created the link here. So I can copy this link now and share it anywhere I want. If I want to, I can come in here and delete it completely if I need to, or create a new URL. You can also do send to specific people. What this will do is let you send it only to a specific user. So I could come in here. We'll send it off to John here. John is at our convention down, legal convention representing ShareFile this week. So we'll let John know to have fun at the convention. And then if you're sending this to a lot of users, you may want to do remember subject and message. That way you don't have to retype this every time. If I wanted to use encryption, what this would do is actually encrypt the message on the body here. All the files sent through ShareFile are automatically going to be encrypted, but if you had something specific in this message you didn't want users to see without logging in, you could do an encryption. Otherwise, they'll just be able to read it in their email as normal. So I'm going to leave encryption off on this, and then we'll go ahead and send that. So now John will be able to open that link and access that file. I'll show you kind of what John would see here. So I'm going to create another link real quick with just we're going to do no sign-in on this. So we'll just do an anonymous link here. Save. And now we'll just copy this. So this is what your users will see when they access these files. If it wasn't anonymous, they'd have to sign in or enter name and email first, but because it's anonymous, all they do is come in here. It'll load up the preview here, and then you can download. This is a single file. If it's multiple files, they'll be able to choose the different files. And then you just choose download here on the right, and it'll download the copy of the file. All right. So very similar is going to be request files. So if you need information from users that you want them to upload to your ShareFile account, what you do is go to request files and choose location. By default, it's going to go to that file box we talked about earlier, but you can always come in here and edit it. So if you know that only one client is uploading to this file, you come in here and I'll be like, all right, I need a file from Joe there. So I choose Joe's folder. And then you can come in here and do get a link. Again, we can set these name and email required, anonymous, sign in required if we need to. And you can set how long these links last as well. So if you only want the link to be good for 3 months, you can do that. And then you want to be notified when these files are uploaded. This is always a good option. That way, once that file is uploaded, you don't have to wait and be like, well, did they upload it? And come in here and look every day until they do. You can just get notified when they do. So you go ahead and click save there. And then we can copy that link. Again, you can also send these via email. So if you want to send it via the ShareFile email service, you can do that as well. But once we have that link, we just come over here. Again, if there's any sign-in required or name and email required, that will pop up before this page does, which is the upload page. And it's going to work similar to how when I was uploading a file. So we'll just upload this onboarding form here, hit upload to 100% and completed. All right. Yep. And there's Joe's folder. As you can see, uploaded just now. All right. And again, you can do both share and requests either via the links or you can do via email and send them out to specific people. Just depends on how you want to do it. Sometimes people like to have it come from their company email. Sometimes they don't mind if it's coming from the ShareFile side. All right. So let's get into how to create folders. So let's say I'm a new client. I have a new client. And I have permissions on this client folder to create folders, which means I have the upload permission. So what I can do here is I can come in and do create folder. All right. And if I want, I could add people to this folder. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then what we can do is we can choose another employee. So again, I'm just going to use John here for this. And I can give John permissions on this folder. So we have a bunch of different folder permissions here. View means that users that have access will only be able to look at the files in the folder. They won't be able to download them. They'll just preview them in the website. They can also have download, which means they would also then be able to download those files in addition to view. If they have upload permissions, they can add new folders to that file or add new files to that folder. And then if they have delete, they can delete any files in that folder. Admin will give them all of these permissions, plus it will allow them into the folder options and a couple other functions. So we'll just keep John here on view, download, and upload. And then you can also trigger alerts for John if we wanted. So if we wanted John to know when new files are uploaded, we could click that one. If we give him admin permission, we can also let him know when files are downloaded. But we're going to keep John on just view, download, and upload here. You can notify them when they're added to the folder. We can also apply these to any subfolders. Currently, we don't have any subfolders, so that one's not going to matter. And then I'm not going to notify John because I don't want to spam him with emails right now. So we'll go ahead and add John to our folder here. And now we can see we have this currently empty folder. I can come in here and I can create additional folders. So if I wanted to do a tax year for 2023, we can do that. And now we have that folder. So we come back up to the gem folder. As we can see, if we go to people, we also can add users here the same way. We could also change these. So if I decided to change my mind and I wanted to give John admin permissions, I could do that and then do save. So now John has admin permissions. But he doesn't have admin permissions on this folder. Because we created this folder, it inherited all the permissions from the parent folder. So John got these original view, download, upload permissions. I didn't click the apply permissions to subfolders though when I gave him admin permissions, so it only applied to that current folder. So if I come back up to the parent folder here for Jim Barnes, go to people, I've already given him admin here, so what I can do is either give him additional permissions, or I can just check the box here, then apply permissions to subfolders and do save. Now when we come down to this tax folder, we can come in here and see John has admin permissions. So if you want him to have permissions on the entire structure from that folder down, always make sure you're clicking the apply permissions to subfolders option before you save those changes. All right. If you are an admin on a folder, you will have access to these more options up here. So some of the big ones are the advanced folder settings. So this will let you set a delete date for the folder. So if you only wanted a folder to last for a specific amount of time, you can do that. From the topmost level, so we're not at the topmost level in this folder structure, but you can set a retention policy. I'll go back to that one in just a second higher up so we can see exactly how that works. You can also set file versioning. By default, any files uploaded to a folder will version, which means you don't actually lose, they don't overwrite each other, they just stack on top of each other. So if you have 15 copies of a file, all with the same name and the same file extension, so all .pdfs or all .docs, they will all just be shown with that one name. And then you'll be able to go in and look at the older versions. That way you don't have to risk completely overwriting any of your data. And then you also can set the default sort orders and if you're going to be using folder templates. So if we come back up here, so client individuals is the parent folder under shared folders here. So if we come to advanced folder settings, we can see the retention policy. So what that will do is remove any files in a folder after a certain number of days. So if I upload a folder today and I have a retention period of 7 days, then 7 days from now, that file will be deleted. So that's what a retention policy will do. If you have existing files in a folder and you apply a retention policy, you will get a 7-day warning on those files. So if I set it for 14 days and those files had been in there for 30 already or more, then I will have a week to address those files before they're applied to the retention policy applies to them. So it's not going to immediately delete data that's too old. You do have a little bit of a grace period there. All right. So the next thing we want to look at is adding a user. You had one option here. When you're adding people, you can do the create new user here. Or if you want to just add a user without specifically adding to the folder, you can come here under people and then manage users home. So this will let you either create an employee user. So if you have another employee you're adding to the account, you do this one. If you have an external client, you do the client user. So we'll do a client user today. So all you have to then do is put in the first, last name, and email address, and then company is optional here. And then you can assign them folder access, add them to distribution groups, or copy existing folder permissions from another user, and then create that user. Once you create them, they will get a welcome email that will let them set up their password, and then two-step authentication if it is enabled for your clients or forced for your clients. If you have a bunch of clients you need to do, you can click this link up here, need to import multiple users with Excel. And then you can download this template spreadsheet here and then use that spreadsheet, put in the first, last names, emails as the columns dictate in the Excel document. And once that's completed, you come in here, choose a file, and you can choose that completed Excel document and import all those users. And it'll just come in here and basically just add all these users. And then you can assign them. They'll all have to be assigned the same permissions and everything, but it's a way to quickly add a bunch of users. You don't have to use these step 2 options if you do not want to. So if you're just adding a bunch of users to your account real quick, that Excel spreadsheet's a great way to do it. All right. We'll jump into a couple settings here. So under settings, everybody will have access to personal settings. If you have admin permissions, you'll also have access to the admin settings section here based on which permissions you have. So under personal settings, you can come in here, change your name, change your password if needed, change how frequently you receive email notifications. So if you only want to receive email notifications once an hour, you can do that. You can also get alternate emails. So if you have multiple company emails, which I currently do, you can only have one primary. So currently, this is my primary email address on my account. So any of my all my notifications will go to that primary email address. You can also come in here and change your preferred time and date settings. So if you are on Pacific time, change that here. Say you can change your day format if you're in Europe, for example, or in other parts of the world that aren't the US. So those are all your basic profile settings. You also have personal security here. So if you're an admin, you should have a security question set up and put that in. That way support can help identify you if necessary. You also have your two-step verification here. So if you want to add a backup phone number, so if you wanted to have a landline that you received your codes to, you can do that here. You can also set up your authenticator app, set up backup codes, all that stuff's under two-step verification. I'm not going to show it to you because I do not want to give my phone number to the internet. If you have FTP access, you can access that information here. And then if you want to see what your devices are connected to. So as we can see, I had a ShareFile for Gmail set up. It's connected to my Podio account. These are all the different devices that you have ShareFile logged into, and you can come in here and kick yourself off any of those. So if your phone got stolen, you could do that. The next step we'll look at here is just your overall admin settings. So we'll go through these really quick. This is just a getting started, so we don't want to go too deep into all of these. But the admin overview is basically going to tell you your account name, account ID, how many of your licenses you're using. If you're the master admin and you need to reassign that the account ownership to somebody else, you just click this and choose that employee user, and then they will become the account owner. So that's a good thing to be aware of if you are leaving the company or somebody else is taking over the account. Make sure to pass that off so they have the access they need. Some other things here are company account info. So if you need to run reports on your account to see usage, you can come in here and set those up. You can run one-off reports. You can set up recurring reports. So if you want to keep track over time, even if you're not looking at them, you can set up recurring reports. They get uploaded to a folder in your account, and then you can come back and check those if needed. You also have your notification history here. This is a great one. It keeps track of what notifications were sent out. And so we can see here, this is the one I sent to John earlier. And this is an activity notification that I got when we uploaded that file, I'm assuming. So if you ever want to come in here and verify that a notification is being sent, this is a good way to do it. And then if you're not getting that, it might be a firewall issue. You can check your email firewall, or if needed, contact our support team. Next, we have company branding. So if you want to set up the branding on your account, change the colors, set up different logos. So you could set up your company logo here instead of using the ShareFile. All that stuff's customizable here. In addition, all your email settings. You can also come in here and add additional subdomains. You can have up to 3. The top one is the primary subdomain. So if you, for whatever reason, wanted to have, if you're changing company names, it's always good to set these up. We generally don't recommend deleting them immediately because it'll break all your links because they're based off of that subdomain. So have a transition period is kind of the recommendation for that. We also have some security options in here. So if you wanted to come in here and change the requirement for 2-step verification. So if you wanted to require client users to use it, you can do that through here. You also can set account lockout. So how many times users can try to log in before they're locked and how long that setting is for. If you have single sign-on you need to set up, you can set that up on this page. Do note that there are 2 separate save buttons on this page. This one applies to everything before it, and then this one down at the very bottom applies to the single sign-on settings. If you're a master admin, you'll have access to the quarantine files. So anything that's detected with a virus or malicious content will be put here, and you can come in here and evaluate it safely. And then at the bottom here, we have some advanced preferences. So you can set some email settings. Here, you have our permissions. So for whatever reason you wanted to allow clients to share files, you could enable that. We generally don't recommend that, but it is an option. You can set your default retention policy. So we talked about this earlier, but if you wanted to set it so files in your account only lasted for 30 days, you could set that. It does only apply to new folders. And so anytime you create a folder, it'll inherit whatever the parent folder is or whatever the account setting is. So if you set this to 30 days after you've created folders, you have to go to those folders and set the retention policy to match. Again, you can also set the default sorting and versioning settings, watermarking settings. So if you want it to have first, last name, and email, you could add those. Another thing we have, again, is our ShareFile tools. So our desktop tools, you can change the settings on all of these in here. I'll give people access. So if you want users to have access to FTP or not, you can enable or disable that. And same with the Outlook plugin. We also have admin settings here for the Outlook plugin. If you want to set those up for your account, you can. You can also completely disable the apps page from the top bar here. But we'll go ahead and jump into our apps here real quick. So we have a number of them both for Mac and Windows. We have ShareFile for Windows. So what these are going to do is ShareFile for Windows and ShareFile for Mac will show up in your Explorer or your Finder window and allow you access to all your shared folders and all your personal folders directly from your desktop rather than having to come into the website to access them. And you'll have full options. You can share, request files from there. You can open them in your local Word doc, for example, and make your changes and then save it, and all the changes get uploaded right into ShareFile. So it makes it a lot easier to work with rather than having to come into the website. And then ShareFile for Outlook for Windows will let you share and request files directly in your email. It puts a little banner in your email to those users can click on to access or upload files to you. So that's a great way if you're sharing a lot of files or requesting a lot of files to easily get that information out without having to go into the website. So, and then again, ShareFile for Mac, we have same thing, Finder window, and you can access all your files. And then we have a ShareFile for Outlook plugin. This only is going to work. It works a little bit differently, I believe. So it's not quite the same as the Windows one. But it does still let you share and request files directly in email. And then we have Citrix files for mobile as well. Yeah, so we have ShareFile.com, which is primarily based in the US. We also have ShareFile.eu, which is going to be based in Europe. So it'll depend on if you're a US company, yes, anybody can access your site from anywhere, as long as they have access. They're not getting a firewall block to the .com. They may end up getting slower upload and download speeds based on where your storage zones are located. So if we come in here, we can see that my storage zone is US on the East Coast. But we have other ones we can enable. So if you have a lot of users who are working in the EU, you might contact our support team and get an EU storage zone turned on. That way they would have a little bit better performance. But otherwise, yeah, there's nothing that should prevent them from accessing ShareFile from anywhere around the world. If you are sharing a file from a folder, for example, let's see. So yeah, if we go to this onboarding form, if everybody on the folder comes in here, they should be able to open this in Microsoft Office Online, and they can make changes there. Oh, doesn't want to preview it for me right now. You can come into this edit option. Yeah, so as we can see, it opens in Office Online, and we can make those changes. And if another user came in here, they'd be able to co-edit with me. So we'd both have different cursor colors. We could see what the other people were typing at the same time. But also when you share these files, one of the options is to have the editability. It does require that they sign into the account. You can't do it anonymously or just with name and email, but you can set up these shares to do edit, and it's going to work the same way. And then once it's completed, it will upload that new copy to ShareFile, and you can go in and see it. It's not going to necessarily keep track of the exact changes based on like Joe edited this, unless you have it set up that way in the document itself. But again, you can co-edit or you can give access through these shares to allow users to edit. Or if they just have upload and download and they just upload a new copy. You can disable which tools they see. So if we come in here, we could set it to only show desktop tools. I think they could technically still download that if they knew about it and access it. But by default, it's not going to show up in the apps if we set that. So if I come in here, change that. Now, if we come in here, yeah, we don't have our mobile option here anymore. But I think they would still be able to log in to that app if they knew it existed. On our support page, the quickest way right now is to do a chat. If you go to sharefile.com, I think there should be a chat button on that page. It'll immediately connect you to a support agent. Those chat lines are fully staffed. And then based on what it is, if it's just a simple like how-to question, they can provide you the information that you need, and you can go on your business. If it's more complex, there's a technical issue, they will go through some basic troubleshooting with you and then probably pass you along to an agent to set up a phone call and do more in-depth troubleshooting. So, but yeah, right now chat is our quickest way to get connected with our support team.
Okay, awesome. Can you pull up the page?
Yeah, I can. So if you just come down to the lower right here and click that, and just do I need technical support, and that will start connecting you to the support agent. And it should ask you a couple questions for identifying purposes, so it can follow up by email if needed, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would come in here and click this. I'm not going to do that because it's going to start connecting me to the agent. We don't want to waste their time. But yeah, this top option should take care of it real quick.
Wonderful.
So any of our ShareFile premium plans will have access to signatures, and it should integrate automatically into your ShareFile account. So to give users access to it, the master admin will automatically have a permission. What then that needs to happen is you come into your employee users. So we'll go with Tepe here. And if you scroll down to the user access section, you can see all the admin permissions. And there'll be a section here for e-signature. And there's 3 permissions in here. The first one here is send documents for e-signature. That will consume one of your e-signature licenses and allow that user to access the signatures function. If you want to give them elevated admin permissions for signatures, you would want to give them view all, so that way they can see all documents that have been sent out for signature. And then you can also give them the ability to manage signature templates if you want. So that'll let them create and modify templates on the account. So generally, just to give them access, you want to do send documents for e-signature. Once they have that access, you'll see over here on the left sidebar, you have the signature section. All you got to do is click that, and it will open it right up into the signatures main page. And then all we have to do is then we can start sending documents. So you just come over to start document and do send for signature. And then it's going to ask us to upload a document and all that good stuff. But what you can also do is if you come into your folders here, we'll use this onboarding form from earlier. So we'll choose this onboarding form. This is the docx. So then we have this option, send for signature. So what's that is going to do is it'll automatically upload this to signatures and start the creation process. So there we go. Documents uploaded. We see a little preview here. And now we do prepare document. And we can start putting in a name. So we'll choose Tepe here. And then we can do place fields. So now we can come in here, put a signature box, put a date field. Then we can put in our text fields if we want. That's how you set up a signature. All right, that's enough there. So go ahead and do next. So now it's going to say, all right, so it's sending it to Tepe. If I wanted, I could add additional email addresses. If I just want them to be CC'd on it, they're not going to have to sign, but they'll be privy to when it is completed. You can also add a personalized message in here and set your expiration. So if you only want to give them 30 days, and then you just use send document. So now we can see this is my document all set up. It's going to expire in a month, who it's been sent to, if I need to send reminders for them to sign, and any actions you want to take if you want to avoid this or make any changes. You also can see the full history of the documents if you want to see if someone's accessed it and looked at it or made any progress on it. And as you can see on your main page then, we have the document sent a few minutes ago, just waiting on that to be signed. Once it is completed, you can see here, you will get a signed form back that has that dash signed in .pdf. They're all converted to PDFs at the end. So we come in here and we can see this is one we did a couple months ago, but then it's all completed and the signatures on it. It's got the signature certificate. All of that was uploaded straight back to that folder with that send for signature option. That is how Write Signature or ShareFile Signatures integrates into your account. The document reference ID is what you generally want. If you're having a specific issue with one document, you want this reference number. And they can pull up the document and see if it hasn't processed or if they need to reprocess it for you for whatever reason, to check any email flows that may have gotten confused. But that reference number is what they need here. So yeah, this is our docs page. So all our product documentation's here. So you can see we have ShareFile, Write Signature, and Podio. So we just click on ShareFile, and then what's new. There we go. That's the one you're talking about, right?
Yep, that's the one.
All right, yeah. So yeah, you can see all our releases for the last month. Any updates to any of our tools will be listed here. All right, thanks for coming, everybody. It's always great that we get to do these for our customers. And thanks for your time today.